Okay, so we are in Unit 5, Day 6, factoring trinomials when a is 1. And the essential question that you'll need to make sure you've written down is how do you factor a trinomial when the leading coefficient is 1? Just to make sure you guys are on the same page, we are on the Unit 5, Day 6 notes, and it should say factoring trinomials when a is 1. So make sure that you have the right notes out. Alright, so let's go ahead and we'll do a vocabulary review. Standard form, which is when the terms are written in descending order of the powers, aka the exponents. So those little tiny numbers that you see next to the variables. And remember that descending means from big to small. That is what descending means. I harp on standard form all the time because if it is not written in standard form, I will mark it wrong. So do make sure that everything is written in standard form. The next term that we're reviewing is leading coefficient, which is when the coefficient of the variable with the highest power. So in your notes, you need to make sure that you've written coefficient and the highest power. And then the next one is going to be constant, which is the number that not connected to a variable. It's usually the number that's going to be on the far right. So let's go ahead and we'll take a look at the factoring process for trinomials. And the first step that we need to do is make sure that the trinomial is in standard form. If it is not in standard form, it will make trying to factor extremely difficult, which is why I try to get you guys into the practice of doing it now. So we'll go ahead and we'll start with that. So once you find two numbers that multiply to give you the constant and add to give you the middle. So we're looking for two numbers that here, if we add them together, So what we're looking for is if we have two numbers that when multiply give us this number, if I add or subtract them, I should get this middle term here. So we're basically looking at our multiplication chart on here. So in this situation, negative 12, there's a couple things that you can do to get negative 12. One of them is to have a negative 4 and a 3. The other way, which isn't covered in here, is you can have 2 and 6, but if I took 2 and 6 and added or subtracted them together, I would not get anything close to 1. So negative 4 and 3 are the perfect ones for that. So our second step is to write the product of two binomials. So we have to write the binomial. And in this situation, it would be x plus 3 times x minus 4 or x minus 4 times x plus 3. In this situation, it doesn't matter what order we put it in, but it does matter that we have the subtraction sign follow the correct term. So, alright, so we're going to do this one together. So the first thing that we need to do is identify what terms are what. So in the middle term is going to be 5, and our constant is going to be 6. So I'm looking for something that if I multiply it together, I get 6, but if I add it, I get 5. So go ahead and take a moment to think about that. And I should get something that looks like a 3 and 2. So if I take 3 and 2, multiply them together, but I add them, I should get 5. So this is going to be the numbers I'm going to work with. And I would rewrite this binomial like x plus 3 and x plus 2, as you can see right here. So this would be the answer. Number 2, we have x squared plus 2x minus 8. Again, we're going to identify. This is my middle term, my 2x, and then my constant is negative 8. And I need to figure out what if I multiply it together it gives me 8, but if I add it gives me 2. And one of the things I definitely need to pay attention to is this sign right here. This sign is a huge giveaway. So what two numbers give me negative 8 but also give me 2? Well, that's going to be 4 and then negative 2, which makes sense because if I have 4 and I add a negative 2, I'm really writing that as 4 minus 2, which gives me 2. So my binomial is going to look like x plus 4 and x minus 2. Alright, so we're going to move on to the practices, and I want to see if you can do this on your own before I walk you through it. Okay, so example 1, we have x squared plus 5x plus 4, and I need to figure out what two numbers multiplied together give me 4, but added together give me 5, and that would see factors of 4. That's 2 and 2, and 4 and 1. If I add 2 and 2, I'm going to get 4, but if I add 4 and 1, I'm going to definitely get that 5. So 4 and 1 are probably the numbers I'm looking for. And I would rewrite that binomial as x plus 4 and x plus 1. The next one, which is where we have our x squared plus 9x plus 20. So I'm going to have to try and break down my factors of 20. So that would give me 1 and 20, 2 and 10, and 4 and 5. So these are the numbers that multiplied together give me 20, but I'm trying to figure out what would also give me 9. 2 and 10 will give me 12, 1 and 20 would give me 121, but 4 and 5 would actually give me 9, so I'm thinking that's my number. So I would rewrite that as x plus 4 and x plus 5. And then again, if you wanted to check, you could use the FOIL method like I didn't cover on the other one, but that's up to you. So practice 2, we are going to go ahead and work with the following polynomials. So we're looking for numbers that if multiplied together give me 28, but added together give me 12. So let's figure this out. Let's see, factor negative 28. So here are all my factors right here, and I want you to notice that some of these are written twice, but they're written twice because the signs are switching. And again, I'm looking for something if added together gives me 12. And I'm thinking it's probably going to be one of these. More than likely it's going to be negative 2 and 14 because again, my 12 here is positive. If it was negative, then I would think it was negative 14, but it's not. So I'm going to go with 14 and negative 2. And then I can go ahead and rewrite my binomial as such, which would be x minus 2 and then x plus 14. Let's go ahead and we'll move on to the next one. So I have 48, and I need to figure out what my factors of 48 are going to be. Also keep in mind that my 48 is negative and my 2x is negative, so that's important. So factors of negative 48 are going to be, let's see, I got 1 and negative 48, I got 2 and 24, 3 and 16, 4 and 12, 6 and 8. So I'm looking for something that would also give me negative 2. Taking a quick look at this, I'm going to say it's probably going to be 6 and negative 8, because if I have negative 8 and I add 6, I'm still at a negative, and these numbers added together are still going to be negative 48. So, and I'm right. Woo! So I'm going to go ahead and write my binomial as such, x plus 6 times x minus 8. So make sure you have this written down. Alright, this is the last example in our notes, and you are going to go ahead and do these on your own, and we'll cover the answers in a second. Alright, so these are the answers that you should have gotten, and if you didn't get them, hold on. Alright, so example 3, which is on your own, go ahead and pause the video while you work it out, and then resume it when you're ready to check your work. Alright, so these are the answers that you should have gotten from any of these, and if you're not sure about how these came to be, please find me in class and then we'll cover it together. Alright, and that brings us to our summary, and I need you to answer the essential question of how do you factor a trinomial when the leading coefficient is 1?